Okay, let's carry on with the conversion graphs on page 13. So this first one is a conversion between miles and kilometers, and this approximate conversion is about right. It's not exact, but it gives a pretty good conversion, and it's a good one to remember as well, just for sort of life skills. 5 miles is roughly 8 kilometers. Okay, so draw a conversion graph. The other one was drawn for us on the previous page. We need to draw this one. So we're going to scale up this information a little bit to help us do this, because if we just plot the first point, 5 miles, 8 kilometers, it gives us a point to go through, but we could do a few more. Certainly, I think at least double it. Let's go 10 miles. If we double the number of miles, then we're going to double the number of kilometers. 10 miles, 16 kilometers. So we're going to put a point there as well. And of course, 0 miles, how far in kilometers have you gone? If you've gone 0 miles, you've gone 0 kilometers. So the graph does go through 0, 0. So I'm going to draw this line in. There we go. Okay, change 1 mile into kilometers. So go up from miles across to kilometers. And it's about 1 point something, so 1 would be there. It's a bit more than 1.5, it's approximately 1.6. Oops. And if you think that 10 miles is 16 kilometers, you can also kind of scale that back by dividing by 10, and you do get these numbers. 6 kilometers into miles. So just to go back to that previous question, because we're using a conversion graph, it's not going to be perfect, and things like that, especially where you're working in quite a small area down here trying to read off tiny numbers, they do give you a bit of leeway. 6 kilometers into miles. This time we're going the other way. We're going to draw a line across from 6 kilometers, bounce off our line. Sorry, I think my battery's running out in my pen. And for me, that's about 3.8 miles. Okay, 4.8 kilometers into miles. So again, horizontally, now 4.8 kilometers. What's this scale going up in? Well, 5 would be halfway between. So we've gone up 2 for 5 squares, so each one of these is 0.4. So that's 4.4, 4.8, 5.2, 5.6, 6. So 4.8 is here, and I make that about 3 kilometers, 3 miles, sorry. 20 miles into kilometers. Now, we don't have 20 miles on the graph, but we do have 10 miles. So remember what we said earlier, we can just double that information. So 10 miles is 16 kilometers, so 20 miles and will be about 32. $16 kilometers into miles. So we just found out that was about 10 miles. And the last one, the car is travelling at 60 kilometers per hour. Use this graph to convert into miles per hour. So just need to change 60 kilometers into miles. Well, it definitely doesn't go up to 60 kilometers. We can't even use 20 and then triple it, because we don't have the corresponding value for miles for 20 kilometers. So we might have to use something a bit smaller. We could use 15 miles and times by 4, or we could use 15 kilometers and times by 4, or we could use 12 kilometers and times by 5, or 10 kilometers and times by 6. Okay, the bigger the better though, really. So if I use 10 kilometers, that would give me about 6.2 miles. So timesing by 6, 6 times 6.2, that would give me 37.2, I think, miles. Okay, let's try that. Whereas if I used 15 kilometers, let's have a look, see what I'd get. So 15 kilometers an hour is 9.4 miles per hour. I never really understood why we used a p for per in miles per hour, but we rarely do in kilometers per hour, but there we go. So to get to 60 from 15, I know that I would times by 4. So if I times this by 4, that would give me 36, and that would give me 1.6, so 37.6 miles per hour. So you can see slightly different from what I said for if we went across at 10, and that's because that slight error that I was out there when I was reading off what 10 kilometers was, then got multiplied by a bigger amount, got multiplied by 6, rather than any error that I read off here that only got multiplied by 4. So it's always best to use the biggest value you can. Okay, number 7. The widths and heights of a type of picture frame are in the ratio 13 to 8. Use this information to draw a graph to show the relationship between the width and the height. Okay, so we've got the width on the horizontal axis and the height on the vertical. So for a photo frame with a width of 13, it would have a height of 8. So there's our first easy point to put on. So 13 up to 8. So it's going to go through there. And if I double that information, you get another bit. So something with a width of 26 would have a height of 16. Let's put that on. And I could even probably double, no, I can't quite double that last bit of information, but I can triple this first bit. In other words, add another 13 onto this. So a picture with a width of 39 would have a height of 24. It's going to go through there. Okay. Right. A picture frame has a width of 30 centimeters. Use the graph to work out the height. So 30 centimeters luckily is on there. Draw a line up. And it's approximately going to be 19 centimeters according to this. Okay, number 8. We've got two conversion graphs here showing how to change between euros and dollars on the first one, pounds and dollars on the second one. And it wants us to convert 800 pounds into euros. So pounds and euros are not on the same graph, however, US dollars are. So I'm going to convert 800 pounds into dollars first, and then that amount of dollars into euros. Now 800 is not on my pounds axis, but something I could turn into 800 will be. So I could go with 50 or 40 or 10, but like I said before, it's probably best to go for the biggest thing we can possible. However, this looks like quite a nice conversion graph, and it looks like £40 is bang on $60 in this case. So I'm going to use that. Okay, I'm just going to write down my working here as I go. £40 equals $60. Now, to turn that into £800, just need to remember that I would need to times it by 2 to turn it into 80, and then by 10, or times it directly by 20. So I'll just write that with a bit more space. Now I'm not going to actually do that now with the dollars, because then the dollars just won't fit on that axis. So I'm actually going to do that at the end of the question. I'm going to use $60 to work out what that is in euros first. Okay, so going up from $60, it's the line about there. That's about 54 euros by the looks of things. Whoops. Sorry. And when I times that by 20, if I times it by 10, I get 540. Times by 20, I'll get 1,080. And I can skip the dollar bit in the middle. Let's write that again. There we go.